former FBI Director James Comey is now the first senior government official to face charges in one of President Trump's biggest grievances, the 2016 Russia investigation. Comey is charged with giving a false statement and obstruction of a congressional proceeding relating to the testimony he gave before the Senate Judiciary Committee 5 years ago. This indictment comes just days after the president publicly demanded it, and shortly after the person the president had picked to be the U.S. attorney in this office quit. And the new U.S. attorney, 3 days into that job, did what the president had wanted to happen only 5 days before the statute of limitations was set to run out. Tonight, the president is celebrating, writing in all caps on Truth Social, quote, "Justice in America. One of the worst human beings this country has ever exposed to is James Comey, the former corrupt head of the FBI. Today, he was indicted by a grand jury on 2 felony counts for various illegal and unlawful acts. He has been so bad for our country for so long and is now at the beginning of being held responsible for his crimes against our nation." The president ended his post with "Make America Great Again." This comes as I'm told by sources tonight that James Comey is expected to surrender tomorrow morning. We'll be watching, obviously, that appearance very closely. But the former director of the FBI has already made quite clear tonight that he's prepared to fight these charges.
My family and I have known for years that there are costs to standing up to Donald Trump, but we couldn't imagine ourselves living any other way. We will not live on our knees, and you shouldn't either. Somebody that I love dearly recently said that fear is the tool of a tyrant, and she's right. But I'm not afraid, and I hope you're not either. I hope instead you are engaged, you are paying attention, and you will vote like your beloved country depends upon it, which it does. My heart is broken for the Department of Justice, but I have great confidence in the federal judicial system, and I'm innocent. So let's have a trial and keep the faith.
Comey saying he's prepared for this to go to trial. We'll see if that happens. And of course, this comes after the president had made no secret of his plan to try to make this day happen when he was running for re-election. So much so that I actually asked former Director James Comey about this more than a year ago and whether or not he thought this day would ever come. Do you believe that Donald Trump will come after you personally if he's re-elected?
Maybe. I mean, he spent 4 years coming after me. I think all I ended up with was a $400 tax refund, which is great. I guess I overpaid my taxes. I don't worry about me. I have the resources and the friends, and I know how things work. I can defend myself. I really worry about the people who have less of that than I do, the people making the cases, the career civil servants who are prosecutors and judges who are the bedrock of our rule of law. They are the people who will be most at threat.
I want to get straight to CNN's senior justice correspondent, Evan Perez, who's following this closely. Evan, obviously, we've seen this indictment now. It's just about 2 pages. It's quite brief, actually. As you combed through it, what stood out to you?
Yeah, no, the bare bones nature of this charge, of this indictment, really stands out. And what we know about it, Kaitlan, is that Lindsay Halligan, who is the newly installed U.S. Attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia, she is the one who personally presented this to the grand jury. That's not normal. Usually you have career assistant U.S. attorneys who make these presentations to the grand jury. In this case, we know that there were concerns that were raised by the career lawyers in that office who did not believe that this was a case that they could bring to fruition. And so what we have here is 2 counts against the former FBI director, an extraordinary day in American history, of course. But we also know that there was a 3rd count that prosecutors had tried to get approval for that the grand jury rejected. We know that what was rejected, according to the magistrate judge, was a count of false statements in the jurisdiction of a congressional proceeding and obstruction of a congressional proceeding. And so those 2 carry 5-year terms if he is convicted. Of course, we're a long way from there. And we know that Comey, as he says in his video statement there, is planning to fight this. We also have a statement from his personal lawyer, Pat Fitzgerald, who says Jim Comey denies the charges filed today in their entirety. We look forward to vindicating him in the courtroom. And so that process begins tomorrow in earnest, as your reporting indicates. He's going to be surrendering in the federal court there in Alexandria, and then we'll see how this case fares before a judge and before eventually perhaps a jury.
Yeah, and so since he's expected to surrender tomorrow, I just think for everyone watching, there are some people complaining on the right that he's not being arrested. The agents aren't showing up at his house to arrest him as a result of this. What is tomorrow going to look like? What are you going to be watching for as the next steps happen here over what was so clearly telegraphed by the president himself here?
Yeah, look, I mean, your reporting, which indicates that he's going to be allowed to surrender, is actually a very big deal because, as you pointed out, people on the right, they want him picked up like Roger Stone was and other people were. And look, what usually happens in these cases, in normal cases, is that someone who, like him, is not a flight risk, is not believed to have any plans to flee, is given the opportunity to surrender themselves. And so that is being handled in the normal course that it is. They've been in touch with his lawyers and they know what is going to happen. Now, we expect that he's going to be released on his own recognizance, and then this trial will begin, this case will begin in earnest. Here's the thing. The fact that the President of the United States has made so crystal clear what he wants in this case has done some damage. And, you know, the briefs from Pat Fitzgerald and the lawyers kind of write themselves, right? Because the president has made clear that he was ordering this prosecution. And we know from our own reporting and what's out there that prosecutors in the office had some concerns. We also know that Lindsay Halligan, who was just brought there in the office, was the one who had to personally present this case to the grand jury. So all of that stuff will come rushing back as part of the story, as part of the case, as this goes forward.
Yeah, Evan, Perez, as you learn more, obviously, throughout the hour, we'll check back in with you and our team. Thanks you for that reporting. Sure. My legal sources are here tonight. We've got Elliot Williams, Judge Jill Konviser, and Ellie Honig, three of the best voices on this. And Elliot Williams, I want to start with you because I just want to read some reporting from my colleague, Kaitlan Polance, who says that a court record has made public what the grand jury voted no on, what Evan was just referencing there in terms of a potential third charge here, and that was on another alleged false statement to Congress. As Kaitlan notes in her reporting here, she says that's a very unusual occurrence in the federal court system. And this is not part of the indictment, but according to the record, it pinpoints Comey's answer when he was asked about an alleged plan from Hillary Clinton during the 2016 campaign. He had testified to Lindsey Graham back in 2020, given this was 5 years ago, people probably don't recall this, that didn't ring any bells with him. Graham had told him about this alleged plan, about distracting from her use of an email server. It is something that obviously conservatives have talked about at length. And I wonder what you make of the fact that the grand jury said yes on two of these charges, but no on that third charge there.
Right. It's a notable occurrence anytime the grand jury does not reject a charge. Now, it's certainly not a rubber stamp for the work of prosecutors, but for the most part, when prosecutors go to the grand jury, they come back with charges. Now, what it appears, I think the logical conclusion to draw from it is that the grand jury simply did not believe there was probable cause to find that the offense was committed. Now, there might have been evidence to suggest that Jim Comey had knowledge there, but really, what needed to be established was that he knew his statement was false and still made it anyway. That is the big wrinkle here and is going to apply across all the other charges in this case. Not simply that there was a statement that people didn't like or that was ambiguous or had some gray area, but that he knew he was making a falsehood, a material falsehood, and still went ahead and made it anyway. Those can sometimes be hard to prove, and I would assume that the grand jury just assumed they didn't have it here.